their personality is what won you. But when you realize what their character was and that their personality and character were very different things, you are struggling to accept that who you thought was the person they were in the first couple of months is not who they're going to ever return to be. You're waiting for them to return to be somebody that really they weren't ever in the first place. They put on that to get you. It's called the bait and switch, and it happens all the time. We fall for people's personality, but then when the true character is revealed, we realize they're two different people. And sometimes the shock value of that is, he used to call all the time, or she used to be so sweet. They used to do this, they used to do that. So I know they can be that because I saw it, and I'm willing to stick around until they go back, to being that person. But what you have to accept, because ignorance is not bliss. Ignorance is not bliss. If you choosing to be ignorant is breaking your heart year after year. Maybe who they showed you was not who they really were. Maybe who they showed you was a representation of what they knew you would want. And so what it is we fall for personality. But that doesn't mean that the personality that they showed us is in true alignment with their character. And I like to always say their personality is just their presentation. But character takes a revelation. You are not going to find out someone's true character until you give it time to be revealed. So some of us are in denial about the truth about who a person is, and so we're holding on to who we hoped they were. We're holding on to who we thought they were. And so you have to say, okay, Lord, did I just fall for a presentation? And if so, God, give me a revelation of their character. Because all that charm and all those smooth words and all that personality that just gets you so caught up with them and attaches you to them and makes them so attractive, if that doesn't align with their character, you have to look at the character. You have to be a character witness and say, okay, they're funny, they're cute, they're attractive, they're charming, they have charisma, all these things, but when I really examine their character, this is not who God has for me. And you have to be willing to accept that. So don't be in denial. Another reason that the soul ties are hard to break, or that it's hard to release someone that's toxic for you, is that you're hopeless that better exists. And hopelessness is something that I minister to people about a lot. Sometimes we're not aware that we've become hopeless, that we feel we have to hold on to good because great couldn't possibly be out there. That we have to hold on to a decent person because we don't have enough hope that there's a greater promise out there. Yeah, they do this, they do that. They're, they go to church sometimes, but at least they're not, of a different religion. They may not, go to church. They may not ever pray or read their Bible, but at least they believe in God. All these things that we compromise on, when in our hearts we feel we're called to someone who can be irons that sharpens iron, someone who we have spiritual compatibility with. And I'll do another live on spiritual compatibility, because I'm a firm believer that just two people being saved is not enough, and there has to be spiritual compatibility. But hopelessness is very dangerous, because if you don't have hope that there is better out there, and I'm not saying better in a superficial way, whereas it's someone who quote unquote looks better or has more money or is richer or more popular or has more fame. I am talking about better, meaning they would be a better match for you, a better fit for you. If you become hopeless, then you will settle, and hopelessness is very dangerous. The Bible says that faith is the substance of things hoped for. So that means that you can't even have faith if you don't have hope. And that's very serious, because it's faith that's going to, operating in faith, that's what's going to attract the blessings of the Lord to you. But if you have no hope, then your faith has nothing to attach itself to. The Bible also says that without faith, it is impossible to please God. So if hope is connected to faith, and faith is connected to pleasing God, then you cannot give up the idea that what God has given you in your heart of hearts, a desire to have, you cannot give up the hope that exists. So hopelessness will cause you to stay with somebody because you are committed to settling, and you have more faith in what's familiar than faith for what God can bring to your future. So check yourself when it comes to a level of hopelessness. You always have to have hope, because hope is a part of the component, the equation of faith. And you have to have enough faith that God can perform what he says he's going to perform. And you may say, well, God never promised me that I would get married. You know, he never said you have to, you know, be in a relationship. And this is true. But the Bible also says that he will give you the desires of your heart, that he has a future for you of an expected end. And if in your heart of hearts you feel that God has called you to marriage, then you have to have enough faith to believe that he doesn't plan for you to settle to get that. You have to have enough faith, enough hope to wait for the promise to be fulfilled. So hopelessness. So have more faith in what God has promised to your future than having faith in what's familiar. And what I mean by that is, okay, I know this person, they're familiar, I've known them for years, I know their ways, I know their flaws, I know, you know, what they like, what they don't like, you know, we work, you know, it's decent, but we're not looking for decent. And I know for me personally, when I was in my single season, I had waited way too long to settle for decent. I needed it to be a godsend, and I was willing to wait for a godsend, because what's the point of going through all the wait and warfare of waiting, the weariness of waiting, just to end up with someone that's okay, that's decent. You don't want something decent, you want something divine. You're not just looking for something good, you're looking for a godsend, something God ordained. So don't let the spirit of hopelessness rob you of faith of God performing in your future what he said he's going to perform. Another reason why it can be hard to let go of a soul tie and of a toxic relationship is pride. Sometimes it is simply, you know, I'm a good woman, I'm a good man, you know, I'm running my businesses, or, you know, I have a great job, or I'm anointed, or, you know, I'm beautiful, or I'm good looking. How dare this person not eventually align with who I need them to be, you know, and commit to me fully, or, you know, put a ring on my finger, or marry me. Sometimes it is, how dare I put all this, you know, into this person, and I'm such a good person. They are going to have to recognize, they're going to have to recognize that I'm a good thing. And here's the thing, you could be a good thing, you could be a great thing, but it doesn't mean you're called to be their good thing. And I always write, there's nothing more painful than seeing a woman trying to be the wrong man's rib, because when you try to force a fit, it's always uncomfortable. You know, and so you have to let go of the pride. You know, yes, you're beautiful. Yes, you're talented and anointed and successful, and you have all these things going for you, but don't stay with someone to prove the point that, hey, I've been in this, I gave you all this love and this time and this attention, I've invested all this energy, all this emotion, all this money. Yes, you're going to be with me, and you're going to make it work, and you're going to step your game up, and I'm not leaving until I get from you what I've put into you. It can be a spirit of pride. It also can be that you don't want to fail, that you've hyped this relationship up. You've posted pictures on social media. You've told people, hey, we're going to get married. You've told people God said he was the one. You know, sometimes it even goes all the way to engagement, where he actually did put the ring on your finger, and the relationship is failing. You know, your spirit is dying. You're secretly unhappy. You have a spirit of sorrow. Your countenance is falling, but you won't let the relationship go because your pride won't let you, because you've put things out there about the relationship that you don't want to have to retract. But what you have to get to the point is, I don't care who knows that this relationship failed. I am not going to be miserable for the rest of my life to prove a point to people publicly when I'm dying in this relationship privately. You have to be willing to let go if it turns out that this is not the person for you. It's okay to get it wrong. I would rather be wrong and people, you know, talk about me for a season than to marry somebody and be miserable for a lifetime. But that's why I encourage people in the beginning of dating, don't be so fast to put it out there publicly. Don't be so fast to put out there, this is the one, or God said he was my husband, and do all these publicly, because you have to let the promise fulfill itself for a while so that you don't have to retract all those things. Give it time. You know, you guys get caught up in the first few months and you're in the honeymoon phase. He's saying he loves you, he want to marry you. You're saying the same thing to him. You guys are posting pictures, you know, and selfies, and y'all Snapchatting together, and it's only been 8 weeks. So I'm not saying, you know, hide people. I think that if you're in a committed relationship, then it needs to be known that you are not available. That is something that should be clearly, evidently known. But before you over promote the relationship, make sure you have gotten a confirmation from God before you go to public. But if you've already crossed that line, and I don't know who I may be talking to, but if you've already crossed that line and you've already put it all the way out there, but there is something in you that says you should not keep moving forward in this relationship, or you should not go through with the engagement or the marriage, it is okay to get it wrong and to say, okay, God, I missed you, or I thought I had something, I didn't have it, and I can't let public opinion pressure me into making a permanent decision that's going to leave me miserable. Because at the end of the day, those people who may talk about you for the failed relationship are not the ones who would have to suffer the consequence of saying I do to somebody that God said I don't approve. So don't stay in a relationship from pride, from a spirit of pride, because you don't want to be seen as a failure. Don't stay in a relationship because you feel like you're such a good person, they have to line up with what you want them to be. And don't stay in a relationship because you put so much time in. Something I hear very commonly is like, well, I've been with them for a year, 3 years, 5 years, 7 years, and I feel like if I walk away now, it was all for nothing. You know, that's a trick of the enemy. The reality is you're going to reap what you sow. So if you sow genuine love and genuine support and a genuine heart to somebody, you will still reap that. It just may be in a different field. Every place that you sow seed doesn't mean you're going to reap the harvest in that same field. Now that's for somebody. I know that's for somebody. Just because you sold into them does not mean that has to be the person that you get it back from. The important thing is that you sowed good seed to somebody. And if they did you wrong, or if they cheated on you, or if they were unfaithful, or if it just ended up not being the one, it doesn't mean that all of that is in vain. It doesn't mean that, you're not going to, reap that back. It just may mean you may not reap it back from that particular person. And I don't know about you, but for me, I want the harvest of the Lord in the right field. Ruth went to a field that was foreign to her, but that's where she reaped her harvest from all of the commitment and dedication and loyalty that she put into Naomi. And I'm sure she put faithfulness and loyalty into her husband before he passed. She sowed seed, but she got her harvest in a foreign field. So stop staying with people because you felt you put all these time in and that you sowed all this good seed and you want to reap it from that person. No, you say, Lord, I want to reap it from the person you have for me. If it's them, great. But since we're talking about soul ties and toxic relationships, I'm talking from the standpoint of it's been made clear to you that this person is not for you and you're trying to break the soul tie. Don't stay because you want to reap from that particular garden. You want to reap from the field that God has favored for you. You have to think of yourself like Ruth. I'm going to sow good seed because I'm going to reap it. And God's going to send me a kinsman redeemer for all that I've done, all the good that I've done. And I know personally, when I was good to people in past relationships, I never thought anybody actually reciprocated on the level of what I gave until I met my husband. And when I met him, he didn't know how much I sown into other relationships and other people. I'm sure he knew I'm a good person, so there's a standard of treatment I'm going to give any man. But what he didn't know was what he was pouring into me, the love he was giving to me, was everything I had ever given to anybody else on top of some. But if I had been committed to, no, I've got to get it. I've got to get the ring from this particular man because that's where I sold. I would have missed my own blessing. So sometimes you got to go to a foreign field to reap the harvest. So don't stay in the relationship just because you put time in and you want to reap what you sow from that person. You want to reap it from who God has his favor on. So, and don't stay in a relationship just from complete disobedience. Just complete disobedience to prove the point that I'm going to choose who I want to choose. Your family is telling you, your mom, people who really love you, your best friends are telling you this person is no good for you. They're saying it from a genuine place. I'm not talking about, low-key haters that are jealous of your relationship so you can't trust, their advice. I'm talking about people that in your heart of your hearts, they really love you. You know that it would do nothing more to make them happy than to see you happy. and they're telling you this relationship is draining you, it is killing you, you're not the same person that you used to be, they're mistreating you, they're manipulating you, they're lying to you, they're showing you proof and evidence of, things that they're doing to disrespect you and to embarrass you. And because you don't want to be proven wrong, that same spirit of pride and just flat out disobedience to what you even know God is telling you to leave alone, you keep moving forward.